back to 71 Magazine. Local artist and designer Rhonda McEnroe is joining us here in the studio, and we're going to be talking about For the Love of Art. This is a program that she started, and we're going to find out the details about it because I think it's very interesting, and you're going to learn how to paint, I think. So Rhonda, welcome to the show. I closed my last show out by saying if you want to learn how to paint, so I'm assuming that you're teaching some people how to paint. Let's first start with, how did this program get started and what was your initial goal?
Okay. The art exhibits themselves, For the Love of Art, is the title of the show. So some years before, we had our first exhibit, which was in 2003, okay, at the Brescia University. We painted on Thursdays, and we had classes month after month, week after week. And so the students, we were doing this nice work, and I had a wonderful exhibit at the Audubon Museum, and I wanted to give the students an exhibit. So when we pulled their paintings all together that they had produced over the number of years, we had 74 paintings at the first exhibit. And so because they come to class with God-given talent and want to paint, want to learn, and so do I, and I want to share with them, the title was perfect. And so we've had a show in 2003, 2008, and 2013. And so it is wonderful that they get a chance to show what they have done and accomplished over that last year. So it's weekly classes that run all year long on Thursdays. And this is an exhibit, a wonderful opportunity for them to show what they've done.
Now, I believe you said that this exhibit only happens once every 5 years.
Once every 5 years. Okay. And so they will start new paintings. They actually hung some paintings, framed them for this exhibit with the painting wet because they wanted it in the show.
Right.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you, I noticed that this sort of thing that you're doing, it happens around the country and other places too. I just did a little research and saw there was one up in Louisville that actually happens too.
I'm not surprised because painting is the #1 hobby around the world. Okay, it's good for all ages. You know, in my home studio, I teach ages 6 and up. Okay. And so these are citizens. These are adults, I mean to say. Some people that are retired, some people who come after work and that kind of thing. Okay. And so it's just wonderful, and it's a mix of, it's just wonderful.
Is there any age range that you accept, or just anybody can really get into this?
Anyone who can come to the exhibit is fine. I mean, not to the exhibit, excuse me, to the art classes. Right now, they start at the age of 20, and they probably go into close to 80, but I won't say,
right,
or beyond.
Well, I understand that participants actually work with 4 different mediums.
They do.
Okay, now you're going to have to explain that just not only to me, but to the viewers, because that's foreign to me. Okay.
A watercolor is a medium, so is oil painting, acrylic, and soft pastel, and those are the ones that these students have been working with. But I want to expel upon that because I've had some students do watercolor initially, and then enhance a painting with less effort and some corrections with soft pastel. And if someone wants to do mixed medium, that's fine too.
Okay, so you're actually talking about mixing the various types of mediums together in one.
If they wish to do that, they can. Most of these separate their mediums.
Okay. Tell us about For the Love of Art exposition that took place this past April.
Oh, it was fabulous. We had 36 people exhibiting artwork, including myself, and we had 217 paintings on display at the Ralph Center for 9 days, and it was fabulous, and it ranged from all of those 4 mediums that we discussed.
Okay.
And I separated the show when it was installed with the different mediums so people could see, because soft pastel and watercolor need to be matted and under glass, and then the acrylic canvases or the oil canvases didn't, and so things looked different and it needed spark, and it did.
It's pretty incredible. I'm learning a lot just sitting here talking to you about this, things that I didn't know at all. What can people expect when they sign up for this program? Is it really a big learning experience for them?
I hope so, because I don't hold back. I share with each student what they need to know about their composition at that moment as they develop the painting. And I tell them what I would be doing if I were doing this piece. That doesn't mean that they need to paint realism, because I can, but if I can give them as much information about how to achieve the best effect or show them different effects at that time so they have that knowledge, that's my goal. I want to share with them. Okay. Because they're sharing their time with me. We're both blessed.
Right. Now, do you have some people that just kind of stay on board
yes,
and just kind of?
For years.
Oh, really?
Yes, over 20 years.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
Well, Rhonda, this is something that I just learned from you in talking with you, and I'm sure maybe a lot of folks know already, but you and Rex Robinson are actually siblings.
That's true.
Okay, so I'm assuming that the artistic vein kind of runs in the family.
Oh, yes.
Is this just the two of you? Or?
No, we have a sister,
Okay.
and we inherited the talent through our mother. And as I said before, and I praise God for it because it's God-given. I mean, He did not give me vocal cords to sing, so I know that, my talent's in my paintbrush.
So how long have you actually been painting? How long have you been
Since I was 5 or 6.
Really?
I have the first oil painting that my mother let me use her oil paints, and I was around that age, but she wouldn't squeeze it out of the tubes for me. I had to take the paint with my brush out of the lid of the tube first before I was allowed to squeeze any paint. So I have a student that teases me because I can tell the people how to suck that paint back in that tube because we're thrifty in class and there's no wasting.
Right. Well, listen, I believe you've got a studio here in town, do you not?
I do.
Okay, is this a private studio or a studio that people can actually come to and view some of your work?
It's both.
Okay.
Because my home studio is in my home, but there is a studio, there's a display space, and I have the students that are 6 to 16 in my home studio,
Okay.
Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday after schools.
I see.
But the adult classes is being taught at Breckenridge Street Methodist Church in the basement, and I can take up to 10 people at a time, but they run 2 hours at a time. So we start at 2 o'clock and go to a little after 7 for the people who get off of work at 5.
Okay. Okay. So is there a certain startup point that people can get involved in this, or is it just they can enter at any time?
They literally can enter at any time if they're ready to go and they have a composition. And sometimes having that image, if it's a beautiful photograph, I can help them achieve it. I don't recommend that someone takes a copy of something that someone has painted.
Right.
Because if they've made mistakes or there's a tension spot in the painting, then they need to be aware of those problems so we can fix it. So.
Oh.
Yeah, they can start anytime.
Okay. Now, are people going to need to bring like supplies? Is there supplies that what do they need to kind of get started?
They do need their supplies. We have tables, newspapers, we have table easels, and smocks for them to wear. But if they want to work in watercolor and the person next to them is working in oils, then that's not a problem, but they need to bring their own supplies. And I can help them with a supply list if they've never gotten started. So rather than investing several $100s in everything, if we start off with one photograph in, say, you're doing a landscape, because it's the most forgiving for a new person, okay? No perspective as far as 90-degree angles and things like that.
Right.
And so we can select those colors that you need for that one. And then maybe you need a squirt of orange, and the neighbor next to you will give it to you in a heartbeat. No one's ever not shared with the other students.
Were you professionally trained in this, or was this just something that you just picked up? I mean,
I wanted it bad enough to train myself.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay.
I've had classes in Brescia and Wesleyan, but not a full degree. And working in the mediums, it's self-taught.
Okay.
But I learned from my mistakes, so I can see things that I know people shouldn't do when they began.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, now, how can viewers get additional information if they'd like to reach you and get involved in this?
If I'm permitted to give my phone number,
Certainly.
It's listed in the phone book. And McEnroe may sound tricky, but it's like John McEnroe, the tennis player. It's 684-9910. Okay. Some people love the computer. I will check my email 2 or 3 times a week. So it's Rhonda with an H at McEnroe Studio. So if they take the MC off of McEnroe, okay, and put studio together, they got McEnroe Studio, because that's my website address, and there's over 100 paintings on it. It's because my work's for sale, and some of the students' works that you will be airing were also for sale.
Okay, well, excellent. Rhonda, thanks for joining us today.
It's
It
my
just sounds
pleasure.
like a wonderful, wonderful program, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this segment of 71 Magazine. I'm your host, John Bryant, and we'll see you right back here next month.